Hey, Chris,
Yeah, Fred.
what's a Mason?
That's a really good question, Fred.
You've reached the internet's home for all things Masonry. Join Chris and I as we plumb the depths of our ancient craft. From the common gavel to the trowel, nothing is off the table. So grab your tools and let's get to work. This is On the Level. Well, welcome to episode 7 of the On the Level podcast with Fred and Chris. Chris, how's it going?
7. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've survived a hurricane.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We have
Hurricane
internet and
Ian.
power. Yeah, we had some destruction here in our
Yeah.
area of the corner of the earth. But I did all right. How about you?
I live in a villa, as you know, and they're kind of like little concrete bunkers. They're all real close together and low roof profiles, so nothing happened to the buildings whatsoever. We lost a couple of giant trees here and there, but other than that, we were good. But I'll tell you, I'll give you a little bit of a little inside baseball on Fred's head. I'll tell you, man, I went through this little bit of postpartum kind of depression thing. I know that's not possible postpartum, but I kind of went through this I don't know what it was, but after my entire the devastation from Hurricane Ian for me was that my routine was completely devastated.
Yeah.
And I am a major routine guy, man. If without my routine, I'm a mess. And I guess after several weeks of no electricity, well, we had electricity and everything, but several weeks of us as a community not having everything, and me not being able, having to go into work and do all this other stuff the way it went down, I just went through this three-day funk, man. It was just like, all right, so I just had to get up and grow up and suck up, and because that's what we do. And I'm better now. So anyways, I don't know why I went on about that, but I am better now, folks. So we're all good.
What you experienced is probably everyone's out there shaking their head. Yep, yeah, me too. I think it was a lot of people felt that, and your rhythm is broken. You're not exercising like you usually do. You're eating stuff you don't normally eat. You might even be drinking. Maybe it's a little more stressful than you used to.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And, you're worried. You're worried about maybe not even yourself, but your friends. We were all cut off. We had no phone service. We couldn't even tell people we were all right. We were just in the dark.
That's right. You had to drive down towards the highway.
About 5 miles from my house to get phone
cell service. Wow.
Yeah, we'd make trips once a day just to tell people everything's all right.
Wow.
We're here. We're living the high life. I'm eating like all the meat in my fridge tonight.
Right. And just so everybody knows, we live in Sarasota, Florida, which is just below Tampa Bay. So we, as Sarasodians, we did not suffer nearly as bad as Fort Myers did. Fort Myers got crushed. My home office is down there. Not home office. The home office of the corporation I work for is down there, and they got absolutely flattened. And they're still digging out. There are still power issues down there. There's still all kinds of trouble. I was reading a piece the other day. There's a massive amount of looters coming in on boats into the channelways and breaking into the exclusive, expensive homes there on the coast by boat, and this is happening all over the place now. So this is Florida. We're a weird place. Like they say, and I'll cut it off here, every nut eventually rolls downhill to Florida. Never forget that, brothers. Never, ever forget that. So anyways, this...
get a lot of out-of-towners here.
Oh, my gosh, it was bad. All right, let's cut off this Hurricane Ian conversation.
Yes. We're here to talk about what?
Well, we're here to talk about the EA degree, and the heading is Lessons of the EA degree. So that's kind of where we're going to start. Not kind of, but for sure we're going to start. And I thought that maybe I would just read the mentor's manual on the EA degree. It's chapter 3 of the Florida mentor's manual. And it's the degree of Entered Apprentice, Chapter 3, 3.1, and the heading is the candidate's first step in the Masonic process. And I'll just read this, and then maybe we can get a conversation going. Well, not maybe. I know we can.
That is definitely going to happen.
That's definitely going to happen. The candidate's first step in his Masonic process. The candidate has now received the first degree in Masonry and has thereby opened the door to another area of education and inspiration, which marks the first step in his Masonic indoctrination and progress. He should have impressed upon his mind the three qualities which each entered apprentice must possess if he is to attain full benefit and enjoyment of Freemasonry. These are obedience, humility, and industriousness. He must obey those who are appointed to teach him if he would learn what is required of him before he progresses further. He must have a sense of humility so that he will not develop a belief that he knows more than those who are assigned to teach him. He must also develop a spirit of industry, for Freemasonry requires those who would know her treasures to labor for them. And that last one means a lot to me. But Chris, start us off here. Start off our conversation.
Jeez, where do you go?
I know, right?
Apprentice degree. Your first step in Freemasonry, I guess symbolically, we talk about your first step in Freemasonry being born again, reborn as a man into Freemasonry. We talk about coming from the darkness of the outer world to the light of Freemasonry. And what do we mean by light in Freemasonry? We don't mean physical light, right?
Right.
Comes from the sun or from an artificial light bulb. We mean knowledge and understanding and information that comes from only one source. And that's somebody that we call the great architect of the universe, or the grand artificer of the universe, or the supreme architect of the universe, or God. That's our creator. And so you're instilled from the very beginning with the idea that Freemasonry puts a lot of weight on putting your faith in a creator or God. And in the very beginning of the degree, we tell people before they're even obligated and made entered apprentices, hey, before we get started, we're going to pray because this is important to us. And you're taught from the very beginning that anything you do that's important to you, you should go ahead and invite, the blessing of God into that thing, whatever it is, if it's important to you. So, right from the get-go, before we even entered apprentices, Freemasonry is telling us what's important to Freemasonry,
right?
Which I find interesting.
Yeah.
And that's a belief in a higher power and a respect for that higher power and a subservience to that higher power that you need to invite it into because you can't succeed on your own in life.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the lodge itself is, in my opinion, it's the only place where men can congregate together from all different faiths, all different walks of life. A belief in God. In other words, you cannot be an atheist. You cannot believe there is no God. Mm-hmm. It's in there, man. You make a profession that you do believe in a creator. And even in some places, and I've read it in a lot of different places, we believe in the fatherhood of God. In other words, that God is the supreme leader, the supreme creator and founder of all things. And I just find as a Christian, I moved right into that. That just totally got my attention. Like, yeah, well, I get that part completely. But as an EA, what I like about the entire EA, Fellowcraft, Master Mason, the ceremonies we do, the allegories, everything that goes to it is the symbolism behind it. And the symbolism for the EA, the Entered Apprentice, is birth, coming from darkness to light, breaking the womb and coming into light. We groped about, it says that we were groping in the dark But then we became, we came to that place where we tasted light, if you will, and now we desire further light. And that's really what the progression really is. EA, Fellowcraft, Master Mason, and on is feeding that desire for more and more of God's light.
Yeah. So I agree that first degree is about starting over, starting from ground zero. And where do you start if you're going to start from ground zero? If you were building a system, what would you make the first lessons you're going to teach somebody that has agreed, I'm going to empty my cup. I'm not going to bring, like you just read from the Mentor's Manual, I'm not going to bring my ego into this. I'm not going to bring my preconceived notions or ideas about anything into this. I'm just going to come in with an open heart and mind and let Freemasonry wash over me. What would you want to put into that system? And tell these people right away. And I think Freemasonry has clearly done it right. Okay, you need to be a pious man. You need to be a spiritual man. Yes, that's a given. And we were told that before we joined because it's on the petition. We saw the questions that we answered.
Right.
But, what didn't we see? We talk about the working tools in the EA degree are a pretty big indicator of what they think is going to be important to start with a good base that you can grow from for the rest of your life. And they give you the working tools of an operative Mason, which are the 24-inch gauge and common gavel.
Right.
First lessons you're probably going to remember from your Entered Apprentice degree. We're talking about the 24-inch gauge and common gavel. So we're telling them, okay, hey, listen, here's your life. You only have 24 hours in your day. First thing you should probably do is figure out how to use that time wisely. If you want to be a better man, let's look at your life. And are you dividing the time of your day into these productive buckets, which are going to lead to you being a better man, a better father, a better citizen of this country? And that means you should be dedicating time for other men and women and people of our society that are in need of help and worthy of help and service to God. You need to divide part of your time into your job so that you can make money for your family. And you need to take time for yourself because you need to be able to relax, refresh yourself. You need to be able to get enough sleep that you're going to be a productive person and a happy person. I think those are pretty common sense things that you would want to put into a system. To try to explain to somebody how to start to think about changing yourself and changing your life in positive ways. Really easy, really simply. Just start from the beginning. What do you do all day?
Right.
What are you going to do tomorrow? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How much time are you going to spend playing video games and at the bar, and wasting your life? And if you're gonna go ahead and invest into those things, you should be prepared for what the outcome of that is going to be in your life. But if you want to change, they're giving you a pretty simple roadmap. Do this, do this, do this, and this is the basis for how you're going to be a happy guy and a productive guy.
Yeah, I agree. It's no accident that the very first of our working tools, and there's many working tools, but the main ones, of course, are the gavel, the 24-inch gauge, the common gavel, the plumb, the square, the level, the trowel, and, of course, the compass. And it's no accident, in my opinion, that the 24-inch gauge is the first one out of the box because it represents your time and life. And it ties right into the level, walking on that plane, that level of life. We as Masons are taught to value our time and to, with introspection, look at how much time do I have left. We're in America here. Most Americans are taught and or desire to deny their death, to ignore their death, to ignore their time, to fill their time with all kinds of trivial pursuits that keep them numb to the fact that if you look at a clock with 12 hours in it, where are you in terms of your age? Where are you? Well, I'm going to turn 60 next month. Well, I guess I'm at quarter till, maybe. Am I 10 till? I don't. Where are you? And in Masonry, the first thing that we are, the first working tool we're given forces us to look at that. and say, where am I on this clock of my life, man? And how much time do I have left? We don't know the time, the day or the hour of our death. Only God knows that. But we can look at it and then find not fear, not stress, but urgency. We can find an urgency to do those things, that God is calling us to do in our lives, and do them well, do them with excellence, and that's just the way I see it, and I'm not saying I do, but I am saying that I need to.
You recognize its importance.
It's really important, and turning 60, maybe that some of that depression the other day that I was talking about earlier.
What are you, a month away from that now?
I'm November 9th. I turned 60, baby.
Less than a month now.
Less than a month now.
Dog.
And my own story, of course, this journey that I'm completing started when I was 55. So I've been on a 5-year journey to hit this number. So I guess why am I on this rabbit trail?
That makes sense. At 55, your 5-year plan was to get to 60. Hey, that's a good goal.
Get to 60 at a certain health level. Health.
To be able to live your life still at 60.
To be able to live to 75 as a 60-year-old. That was my goal. And I beat type 2 diabetes, and I changed my diet, and I'm working on some other things right now to try and step that up. Anyways, that's a different podcast entirely.
And this guy you'll see his picture. He's in great shape. He's in better shape than most of the guys I know that are 30.
Yeah. Well, like I told you the other day when we were talking, I make it look like that, but I don't look like I feel.
You feel your age?
I can feel that age, man, and it's just I cannot lift the weight that I used to lift. I cannot run the hill the way I used to, but I can run it and I can lift it, and I do it well as a 59-year-old. That was the goal. I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be me, the optimal me. What does the optimal Fred look like? How does he act, and how does he behave? So bringing it back to
the 24-inch gauge.
The 24-inch gauge. It's a representation of my time and my life, and it's just so important that we encourage EAs and ourselves as well to evaluate each time. It says that it breaks it out into 3 8-hour periods.
Right.
Now those are not to be followed strictly, but what it means is that there are 3 ideas behind the breaking down of the 24 hours. Obviously 8 of it is for sleep. There's no way around that one. If you don't sleep good, then you die young. That's just the way it is. But the other one is for our vocation. And help me out on what the third one is.
It's for the service of God and
a fellow brother.
Yes.
The service of God and a fellow brother. And
service to man, basically, and to God.
Right.
So serving other people. And that's an important part, I think, of every system of personal growth is getting outside yourself and building upon your empathy and thinking about other people and thinking about their problems and how enriching that is to your personal growth as a man. Interesting lesson that it's stuck into that 24-inch gauge, and it's the first thing I talk about when you start dividing your time is service to other people. And, you'll find that lesson throughout the Entered Apprentice degree. The principal tenets, faith, hope, and charity. And we tell them that's all great to have faith in God. And it's all good to hope for eternal life. But you have control over charity. Right? And it's in the 24-inch gauge. And then again, they put it into the tenets of the fraternity. So that's how important the service to other people and charity towards mankind is to Freemasonry and to your own personal growth. And so, when I do these meetings with certain members of my lodge, with new candidates or interested parties that want to potentially join, they point out, hey, Freemasonry is not a charity, just so you know. And I can't help myself but jumping in and saying, okay, I agree we're not registered as a charitable organization. We're not, a 501(c)(3).
Right.
You're not going to get a tax deduction if you donate to the lodge. I get that. But, boy, you look at anything we talk about in Freemasonry and try to tell me charity is not embedded in who we are as a fraternity. And I'll call you out every day of the week and twice on Sunday because you're not going to find almost anything in Freemasonry that doesn't tell you over and over again how important charity is. And that this is something that you have control over, that you can make your mark on other people's lives and on the world and be remembered in history for the acts you do in life of charity.
Yeah. You take a young man who by nature is selfish and self-centered, and it kind of makes sense. A young man needs to be a little bit selfish, needs to be a little bit hardworking and dedicated and focused on his own life and the things that he wants to do in his life. But you take a young man like that and you put him into our system, and he learns how to have empathy for others and to serve other people and to get his focus off himself and onto other people. That is charity. We are doing charity when we send that young man back out to his home, his wife, his family, his work, a better man able to serve the community. And that is charity. And the word charity, which means love, it's a specific word, love. It comes from the Greek phileo, which means brotherly love, or it is the act of love, the type of love that I have for my brother. Like, for instance, Philadelphia is known as the city of brotherly love. Phileo, that's Philadelphia. So that's what that means. That's where that comes from. So when you hear the word charity, we're not talking about agape love, which is God's supreme love for us, or eroios love, which is the love between a man and his wife. But we're talking about a love that is active, a love that is working, faith, hope, and charity, or love, active, caring love. And it makes sense. Back to the gauge, right? The gauge tells us to serve other people, to serve the community, and to serve a brother Mason, and to give of yourself. That's the whole idea. And I think it ties back into the three qualities that are to be impressed upon the candidate, which I read in the beginning there, which is obedience, humility, and industriousness. And I love that statement on industriousness. Listen to this. For Freemasonry requires those who would know her treasures to labor for them. And it just makes me think of the brother who comes in and says, he wants to do the floor work. He wants to, dress in fine suits. And I love all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, man. I love our rituals. I love what we do and the way we do it, striving to always do it better. But if that's all you do, if you don't do the studying, if you don't read it and study it and let it come into your mind, right, you're not being industriousness. You're not being industrious, and you will miss out on the treasures that Freemasonry offers us. It offers us treasures, but we must work for them.
Wow, that's powerful stuff.
Right? It sure is.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's go on to the gavel. Talk about the gavel. What is the gavel?
Actually, before we get to that point, I wanted to propose we go back.
Okay, yes,
so
yes.
In the beginning of the degree, we're divested of a bunch of stuff.
Right.
We're removed from our worldly clothes and possessions.
Right. Yeah, the Armani suit is not allowed.
Taken off, right?
Right.
We ask you to wear it. Well, you came with a suit and tie. That's awesome. Yeah, go take it off and put this on now. And wear it in this specific way. And so you put somebody in a position where they're off kilter. You've removed the vestiges of their whatever they imagine themselves to be in their real life.
Right, yeah.
Take it all away. And they may even be going through this experience with other people. And now they're just like them. They're clothed just like them. They're feeling the same feelings they're feeling. Doesn't matter if they're a president of a company or they're the gardener or the plumber.
President of the United States.
They're having the same experience. They're feeling the same feelings. They look exactly the same at this point. What have we done? We've shown them right from the beginning before they've even started. You ain't any better than the guy next to you. Hate to tell you.
Right.
When you take away all that stuff that's not real, your jewelry, your fancy clothes, your idea that you have control over this world, and you're sitting there, half naked, that's how we leave this world, is naked and afraid. And now you're about to enter a new world, essentially naked and afraid, and being leveled to the point where your preconceived ideas about your importance in the world is taken away from you. Man, we're sending some powerful messages before we even got started.
Yeah, that's right. And when you brought it up, and I'm glad you did, it just brought me right back to that
You felt it.
In that
visceral feeling
room,
of
man,
confusion. You're scared. You're like, what's happening to me? I have no control over this situation.
Right. And to come in, I had my suit on. I was looking good, feeling good. And they said, here, do this. And I was like, what? Wait, hold on. I'm doing what? And, then, like you said, cold and way out of your element. And even, dare I say, hoodwinked, for goodness sakes, And for me, that was a real struggle. I've studied self-defense for a long time, and that situational awareness. So to put that on, and to be led about in a compromised state. You're right. Total humility.
Total
humility, yes. And obedience. The first two, obedience, humility, and industriousness. Well,
you have to give up at that point.
You got to give up.
Somebody's going to hopefully take me around carefully and tell me what to do, because I don't know what's happening. I just got to trust.
Yeah.
I just got to put a little faith that this is going to be okay.
And it was. It was more than okay. And the way it's laid out, and if it's done correctly, and in my case, for my EA degree, it was done very well, I thought. And it's so funny that when you go through it, it seems like you're being led around for hours and hours and hours. But then when afterwards you become a master mason and you go and you participate in an EA degree, as one of the participants, you realize, man, it's just not that long at all. It goes by pretty quick. But
20 minutes felt like 2 hours.
2 hours, man. I was just like, when will this end? This is crazy. But anyway, we're beating that one to death.
No, but I'm sorry for going backwards. But
I'm glad you did.
I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? There were some really important lessons even before that. Because we are divested of everything. We're shed of all the trappings of the world. It's all gone. And we're put in a state of material and spiritual poverty before we even step through the door. Powerful lessons being taught. And you're not going to realize it at the time, but that's not the point. The point is to experience that and feel the feelings at the time, because you're going to go back and analyze it later. Right, and that's the way we teach in Freemasonry.
Yeah, that's right. We claim to, that the great architect, the fatherhood of God, who is creator, and we are attempting to know him. So if you have to think about the difference in beings here. This is a being who claimed to have created everything from nothing, ex nihilo. And it's a big universe, man. So, I'm thinking he's a being that is far, far surpassed than anything we can really understand. Therefore, it is incumbent upon him to reveal himself to us, because on our own, apart from his revelation, his light, and us seeking that light, we're really not going to understand and truly know him. So I think, I just that is so comforting to me, to know that if he is who he says he is, then he's already got a plan. He's already got a plan. He has to, because I know in myself, I'm a being that if he doesn't correctly clean himself, will get sick and die. So at some point we have to just humble ourselves and cry out and say, okay, show me.
I don't have a master plan. I sure hope somebody does, right?
Yeah,
you got
to
surrender to the idea that plan exists.
Yeah, man.
And that whatever you're doing, if you're working hard and you're trying the best you can, that you're just doing what you were created to do. You can't help it.
Right.
So you're prepared. Lessons already coming at you, and then you want to get in there and get this degree done, but you can't because something's in the way. So you discover right away that there's things blocking your path to light. You're in a state of darkness, clearly, literally in a state of darkness.
Literally.
Trying to get into this place to get this information, and you can't because something's blocking your path. And so we're taught right from the very beginning that you have to overcome these obstacles, right? There's a door. Can you get through it? Maybe not initially. You've got to wait for help. Help comes, and you do pass through the door. There's another lesson, I think, right there. That you're going to face opposition to your spiritual growth, because that's what you're seeking when you come to Freemasonry.
Right.
And you're going to be naked and afraid, and then a brother's going to come and give you some help. and he's going to show you the light.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just like, that's it, man, right there. That's a beautiful thing. And how many men in this country right now are searching for that? You know, a brother to
Not
help
enough.
them. Not enough. Not enough.
Not enough.
But we're working on it. We're working on it. That's right. So the common gavel.
Yes.
Let's go there.
Back to the common gavel.
Back to the common gavel. So the common gavel was used by operative Masons.
Well, you hit stuff with it, right?
You hit stuff with it. And you chip away. You take a rock, a large rock, most likely granite, and you chip away at it with this gavel until it's suitable for the master's use.
Right.
And I love that. I love that analogy. You know, you chip it away. But that's the practical use of a common gavel. What is the meaning of the gavel? And we all have our own kind of interpretations of it. For me, the gavel represents my willingness to work. Because if I show, I've been in construction my entire life, so gavels, hammers, levels, it all makes sense to me. But if I'm on a job site and I got an apprentice who comes in, and I hand him a gavel when he first comes in, he's not going to know what to do with it, and he's probably going to hurt himself with it. But if I give it to him and he takes it and puts it in its proper place and then looks up at me with a willingness to learn how to use it, well, then I understand the concept of this working tool. As an EA, the common gavel represents, in my mind, my willingness to do the work with that gavel, my willingness to learn how to use it, first and foremost.
You're coming back to the industriousness part.
Yeah,
you mentioned
exactly.
In the very beginning.
Right.
This is a tool that's going to help you have an industrious purpose if you can use it. This is a kind of like all the tools. It's got layers. It can be pretty deep the more you think about it. But, okay, let's start at the beginning. From an operative standpoint, we're going to break off whatever you don't need of this hunk of stone to try to shape it into whatever the master workman says this needs to be. So whether it's a square or maybe it's an arch or maybe it's a sphere, whatever it is, you're going to have to shape it. And it's rock. So it's not like clay. You're not just going to mold it. You got to shape it with hard work. So you've got this tool to do it. Now we're what we call speculative Masons, so we're not physically going to do anything. But spiritually, we are trying to lay our foundation as an entered apprentice, the foundation of a spiritual building. An operative Mason is going to lay the foundation of a physical building with these perfect squares or blocks that they're creating out of hunks of stone. And if the foundation is not perfect, if it's not strong, you know what's going to happen to the building.
Right.
It's going to crumble. It's never going to last through time. It will fall. And so the foundation is literally the most important part of the building. It's not the sexiest part. It's not the part everybody sees.
Right.
But it is probably the most important part of the building because nothing of that structure will survive time if it's not got a solid foundation. So we're talking about how to build a solid foundation for our spiritual building that we're going to build in Freemasonry. We're going to build this temple to God inside of us out of our mind, right? And how do you make a solid foundation? Well, here we go. You're going to have to shape your life a little bit. You're going to have to break. You're going to have to lose some of the things you don't need that are getting in the way of a strong foundation. And in Freemasonry, they tell you that's most of the vices in your life.
Right, yeah.
And all the crap that you're wasting your life on. They have a big word for that that I had to Google. And I had to do that a couple times because I have a bad memory. But essentially what they're telling you is, okay, excessive drinking, smoking, gambling, spending too much time on trivial things, whatever that may be. These are all things getting in the way of building a solid spiritual foundation for yourself.
Right, and that word is?
What's that?
The word is
superfluities of life.
Of life, yeah. The excesses, needless excess.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's the definition of the word, according to Webster's. Needless excess.
It's great, because that's the last thing people want to do.
Oh, yeah,
But hey,
absolutely. I love my needless
comforting.
excesses. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
I'm an American. Come on.
I want to eat all the red meat. I want to drink all the whiskey. I want to smoke all the cigars.
That's right, yeah.
And, okay, have one occasionally because you need some relaxation in your life, yes. But excessiveness is what we're talking about. These things will get in the way of your relationships, your vocations, and your connection with your Creator. They're inhibiting your spiritual growth. So, I think it's a good idea right out the gate of a person that's in a state of recognizing they need to humble themselves, recognizing they don't have all the answers. Okay, we're not going to give you all the answers, but we're going to give you the tools to find the answers for yourself. And that's what you haven't been able to do with your life up to this point. And so now you're a new man, and you're armed with tools to be a better man, but it's up to you to use them. And so in order to use a tool properly, as you know, you have to really understand it, and you have to practice it.
And you have to be taught use it, and then practice. Correct.
Fail. I get it. After a while, you're going to understand it, but you have to use the tools. And so doing work is the only way that you can actually use those tools operatively, and it's the same spiritually. You have to do exercises that require you to think about these things and enact them and use them in your life. And I think that's a great lesson. That's a genius way to take somebody into a system and try to continue to help them empty their cup, continue to say, hey, just open your ears and maybe talk a little less at this point, and look around at what you see. Look at the other guys that have been here longer than you. And hopefully those guys are an example of what's going to happen if you do those things.
Well, I was as you were talking about that, I was just thinking about the quality of the mentor is just as important as the willingness, of the EA, that openness that they have, of understanding what it is that they're getting into. And I remember being on cruise in Arizona years ago. We used to build houses very differently in Arizona than they do here. But we would have different crews that would be responsible for different phases of a framed house. And I would run joisting crews or a truss crew or a framing crew, blah, blah, blah. But you always had a foreman, you had 2 carpenters and 2 helpers, and that was a crew. And as a foreman, I would have to meet with other foremans on the crew, and there'd be just a whole gaggle of us. This is back in the day.
A gaggle?
A whole big gaggle of us, know-it-alls. And and you could tell the difference between a foreman who was good, because all of his men were always working. There were very few mistakes, but they always knew where they were at all times. Everything was flowing and moving. Everyone knew their role. Because the mentorship that he was providing, the leadership he was providing was based on sound practice. Mm-hmm. And then you had the foremen that were in it for ego and in it for themselves, and they're yelling at people. Back in the day in the construction industry, yelling at people was a way of life. And I've seen people just absolutely just throw their tools down and beat the crap out of each other on a job site because of ego. And those kids, whoever those laborers were on his crew, learned nothing. They learned absolutely nothing. And I made it my mission because I was taught very well. I was taught by a very seasoned carpenter, and I learned carpentry hand to hand from this man, Joe Johnson, who's probably long gone by now. But he, the guys that don't, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that as an EA, it is incumbent upon you to understand the people that are mentoring you. Mm-hmm. And it's your responsibility. If don't be afraid. If you're an EA and you're working through everything here and you've got a mentor in your life that you don't feel right about, do not be afraid to move to a different way. Be polite, be respectful, because you're a Mason now, so that's what we do. We're supposed to do. Yes. But move to and look for a man in the lodge who knows his stuff. Who isn't loud, who isn't constantly arguing and bickering with other people, isn't saying no to every new idea that's out there. But find a mentor who knows his stuff. Anyways, I'm beating that one to death too. But that's so important.
That's we kind of, after the degree's over,
right,
we link you up with a mentor and a catechism instructor, and those are basically going to be your tethers to Freemasonry for the rest of your degrees that you're going through. So you have a catechism instructor, and his job is to help you memorize the questions and answers so that you better understand the physical things that happen in the degree and the basic symbolism of what that meant. And then you've got a mentor who is a different brother that is going to explain in greater detail the esoteric thinking and reasoning of Freemasonry, and it has nothing to do with memorization work. So that's supposed to be two different people. Mentors, according to the system of Freemasonry, are supposed to be the most seasoned members of your lodge.
Right.
The ones that have done the most and experienced the most and really understand it on a baser level than most. And the catechism instructor is supposed to be the one that has demonstrated his proficiency in memorization and accuracy with that memorization, so he can impart that to you. Because Freemasonry's got this crazy system of inculcation and repetition being the way that we learn, and memorizing things. Because when you memorize it, you're forced to think about it.
Right.
You have to think about it over and over and over again to memorize it. So it's genius to me that they made memorization a part of this. And you will learn that, and it'll stick with you forever once you drill that into your head.
Right, right.
But those are two supposed to be good brothers of the lodge that are going to be good representatives of Freemasonry to you, because you, at this point, don't really fully understand. You're just a baby in Freemasonry. You're drinking mommy's teat still. You're not a big boy at this point. And it's tough for guys to think of themselves as not the big guy or not the most knowledgeable, most experienced guy in the room. Humility is important in anything you do in life. And it's funny because some of the people that I look up to in Freemasonry are the most humble guys.
Right, yeah.
You can ask them anything, and whatever they tell you, they're going to say, and brother, that's just my opinion. You need to look here for the right answer. You need to talk to that guy for the right answer.
Yeah, they don't come off as the authority.
I only know what I know, and I'm going to give you my best, but I know that I'm not the most knowledgeable. And these are guys that have been around and done everything. And so I see that the system of Freemasonry ingrains that humbleness into you as you really make it part of yourself as a man. And when you can carry that humbleness out into the world, that attracts attention of people. When they see a quiet, strong man doing good things, never partaking in these negative things, not being the guy to gossip and bitch and just trying to get things done and work together, that's going to attract attention of people. Like, people are drawn to light, and you have become the light for them because they're walking in the darkness. And they're naturally going to be attracted to the light. And they're going to want what that person has in their life. And that's how you grow the fraternity, just by being a Mason in the world, walking around in the darkness, being a pillar of light. But, it takes a lot of hard work to get. It's hard to kill your ego, man.
It is. Yeah.
Pretty much every major religion and every real endeavor of mankind is trying to kill the ego.
Yeah, well, there's that old man inside, that doesn't want, he really doesn't want the good, the true, and the beautiful. It's not natural to him. He must work towards it, to find that. And that's a good, we're 43 minutes in.
I told you this was going to be a long one.
Well, I'm thinking maybe a part two.
I think so. Because we have a lot left to talk about.
I'm flipping through my notes here, and I'm telling you right now, we could probably do another one. So why don't we maybe tentatively, don't quote me on this, but tentatively commit to a lessons of the EA degree part 2.
I love it.
And we'll do that one next time when we come back together. Chris, as always, man, it's just a pleasure to do this, to sit here and do this. And I hope you guys listening are getting a lot out of it. Let us know.
Yes, just so you know, we're guys that have full-time jobs.
Yep.
We're both real active in our lodges and other lodges and our district and the Grand Lodge. We're very, very active guys. We get up at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
We're here talking with you. And to be honest with you, this is something I look forward to all week.
Yeah, me
to
too.
To sit here and talk about this stuff. I don't view this as, I got to get up. I'm like, I'm set my alarm. I'm waking up before my alarm. I'm excited to get here.
Yeah.
So, this is us at the ass crack of dawn talking to you guys. And we dedicate hours so that we can do this in the morning before our real lives get going. And that's what we do in Freemasonry.
Yeah, that's right, man. That's right. And the learning curves and everything that it takes to put this together, I absolutely look forward to learning it, to getting better at it, and to producing a podcast that does Masonry proud. That's our goal. And Chris and I are the kind of guys that once we get onto something, especially something we like, we're not going to let it go, man. So we will be here. We will continue to produce these shows, and they will get better and better. Please, please, please leave your comments.
Yeah, we need that
good,
feedback.
bad, indifferent. It's okay. We're big boys. We can take it. Constructive criticism is always welcome. It'll get you to the front of the line around here, man. So absolutely,
and we'll
not
get
a problem.
some guests coming in. We'll have some other parties, but
absolutely.
We're just having too much fun talking to you guys right now.
Right,
we're trying to keep you all to ourselves.
All right, well, that'll do it for episode 7, man. We will see you next time where hopefully we'll have the Lessons of the EA Degree Part 2. Thanks, Chris. I'll see you next time, man.
All right, Fred.